Marnie and I have just got back from the world's windiest walk. You know, when it's really deceptively nice out there and you think that it's going to be really warm and a lovely day for a walk, and it turns out to be borderline hurricane season. That's what just happened. But it was really nice. I feel quite refreshed now, definitely a lot more awake than I did before we went out on the walk. I'm trying to be really good and go out early in the mornings, because I found, especially over winter when it's dark and miserable, I've been kind of hibernating in the house until after lunch, and then I've only got a very small window to go out and do something with Marnie, if anything at all. You gonna help Marnie? Oh, what happened? Before I have to get the kids and start all of our evening routine and stuff. So I always feel like our days don't quite work, at least they haven't for the last couple of months. So I'm trying to get up and out nice and early and do something with Marnie, and then we have the whole rest of the day to do whatever we need to do. So it's working quite well so far. We've been doing that for a little while and I definitely feel more productive because of it. So yes, that's where I'm at. I did consider sorting myself out after my windy walk to film this video, but then I figured you guys don't care, and I thought I would make it a little bit more informal and relaxed and just sit here at my kitchen table with my cup of tea and film this whilst Marnie is asleep, because it won't last long. So today I thought I would film the new mum tag which Emily Norris created and uploaded earlier on this week. And I love a tag video. I think they're loads of fun. I love watching them and I like making them as well. I just think it's a nice way to get to know a bit more about people and just to have a nice chatty video where you guys can answer the questions in the comments as well if you want to, or if you have a YouTube channel, you can then answer the questions yourself and let me know if you do film it, because I'd love to go and watch. So the first question is, what is your favourite mum hack? If you're new to my channel, I'm a mum of 4, so anything that makes my life that little bit easier or our routines run a little bit more smoothly has got to be a good mum hack for me. I'm not really sure you could call this a hack, so I might be cheating slightly, but one thing I've been doing lately that makes life so much easier is getting dinner prepped before I pick up the kids from school. Now I'm lucky that I'm at home and I work from home, so I can do that most days. The days that I don't, I find I'm always chasing my tail in the evening, and the evenings become so much more stressful. So this is where my beloved slow cooker comes in. That was seriously the best £20–25 I ever spent, and probably 3 or 4 meals of the week are made using the slow cooker. I've done a few recipes and cook with me videos using my slow cooker, but I've got loads more recipes up my sleeve that I could share. So if you want me to do a favourite slow cooker recipes video or something, a few people have requested that and I keep meaning to do it, so that could be a good one. So yeah, that helps a lot, and it's something that I didn't do before. I would always be making dinner at 4:30, 5 o'clock, 5:30 some evenings if there were clubs after school, and then it has a knock-on effect. Sorry, that's my dishwasher. I can't stop that or it'll just beep at me throughout the whole video. So yeah, that has a knock-on effect on the rest of the evening, and I feel like everything is a rush. So definitely prepping dinner is the big one beforehand, or as much as I can do before getting the kids from school. The next question, most embarrassing mum moment, and I have so many, I'm sure, but I can't for the life of me think of any. I've probably blocked them out if I'm completely honest, because they were so awful. With 4 kids, there's got to be at least one mortifying mum moment a year. But the one thing actually that does spring to mind is something that Aidan did when he was probably 3, nearly 4, I would say, and we were in Tesco and putting all of our groceries on the, like, what do you call it, conveyor belt thing at the checkout. And as he was in the trolley and as we were nearing our turn to be served, he just said pretty clearly, "Mummy, look at that man," pointing at the cashier, and it wasn't a man, it was a woman. And as if that wasn't bad enough, he just then a few seconds later said, "That man grumpy." As clear as anything. I understood it, she understood it, and to be fair, she did crack a smile, so she reacted well to it, but I just wanted to crawl under a rock. It was utterly mortifying. So that was definitely up there as one of my more recent embarrassing mum moments. I'm sure I've got dozens. If I think of some more as I'm answering these questions, I will let you know. Question number 3, what part of the day do you love the most? That is probably, now that I'm doing the meal prep earlier in the day, it's probably the hour or so before dinner. Even though it's quite stressful and they all want to tell me everything at the same time and they all are hungry or thirsty or there's something they want from me, it's really nice because it's so chaotic. It's been so quiet all day with just me and Marnie, and then they come home from school and there's hustle and bustle and they're telling me everything about their day and they're all so excited and pleased to be home, and it's just really nice. I love that part of the day where the house goes from being quite calm and quiet, which is nice as well, don't get me wrong, to full and chaotic, because I love the chaos. I think you have to when you've got 4 kids. So that's probably one of my favorite parts of the day. And my worst part of the day is probably a weekday or school day morning. I'm not good at getting out of bed. I snooze far too many times than I should on my alarm, and I'm trying to get better at not doing that. And I go through phases. Sometimes I don't do it at all and I feel like, yes, I'm bossing every morning and I'm getting up early and getting stuff done. And then other weeks I'm just so exhausted if Marnie's had rough nights or one of the others has been ill, or I'm tired in general, and I just keep pressing that button, and then the mornings are not so much fun. So yeah, weekday mornings I would say are my least favorite. Okay, next question. I have to keep opening my phone all the time because it's locking. The worst thing someone said to you when you were pregnant. I can't think of anything particularly bad that somebody said, other than silly flippant things like when I was expecting Aiden, so he was my 3rd baby, and when I was expecting Marnie, people just making comments about, ooh, you know, I thought you'd be done after 2, you had a boy and a girl, and people just making presumptions about your own choice to have a 3rd baby. I just found things like that a little bit strange, but I can't say I was ever particularly offended. And then there's people commenting on your size or what gender you're having based on the shape of your bump and things like that. So nothing that really offended me, or I would say is an awful thing to say to a pregnant woman, but just weird things that people feel they need to pass judgment on. I always found that really strange. The next question is a baby name that you didn't agree on. I could probably film a whole video on that because Dan and I didn't agree on many baby names. It took us a long time, particularly with Aiden and Marnie, who are my 3rd and 4th babies, to decide on a name because we just couldn't agree on anything. I think boys were probably the hardest. We found Marnie slightly easier to agree on. But yeah, boys' names we really struggled with. I really liked the name Tristan. I've always liked that name since I was in school, and there was a boy in our year that all the girls fancied and his name was Tristan, so I really liked that name. And I'd never heard the name before meeting him, so I've always liked that name. And for a girl, a name that I really loved that Dan just didn't like at all was Cosette, which I heard in Les Mis. I just love it. I know someone who's got a daughter called Cosette and they call her Cozy for short, and I think it's beautiful and very, very cute, but Dan was having none of it. So that one we didn't agree on, unfortunately. Next question, do you co-sleep? Yes, all of our babies have ended up sleeping in with us at some point. At one point when Dylan and Merrin were small, we'd have both of them in there with us at some point during the night, most nights, and I can't see it changing with Marnie anytime soon. It's quite nice in a way. I like waking up with her there. Dan does too, and I just think they're little for such a short period of time, and it just seems to make things easier, and everyone seems to get a little bit more sleep that way. So yeah, we're sticking with it for now. Next question, something you bought but never used. A changing table. I really wanted this matching cot and changing table set when we had Dylan, who's my 1st baby, and I just thought I'd get so much use out of it. I hardly ever used it. Occasionally I'd take him up to his nursery to change his nappy, but more often than not I would change his nappy wherever I was, so on the floor, on the sofa, on the bed. It's very rare that I would actually take him into that room and change his nappy there. So I wouldn't say I never used it, and we did use it for storage, but it certainly wasn't something I used as much as I thought I would. 3 hospital bag must-haves. Now this is something I could talk about for a long time and probably list a lot more than 3, so I'll keep it brief. Comfortable pants. Buy yourself some really cheap, huge knickers from Primark. I bought them like 2-3 sizes bigger than my normal size, and I wore them for ages afterwards as well because it was so much more comfortable. But definitely comfortable pants. You don't want to try and squeeze into any uncomfortable knickers after childbirth. What else? A bottle of distilled witch hazel is a must-have if you ask me. I used it after all 4 of my babies. It's so soothing on your bits after childbirth, and it's just a great thing to use, and it's antiseptic and cleansing, and yeah, you get the gist. But it is a brilliant tip for a new mum. Definitely have a bottle of distilled witch hazel. I had one in my hospital bag in case I had home births, but I had them packed in case I needed to go to hospital, and I kept one in both bathrooms of the house, upstairs and downstairs, so I could use it every time I needed to. So it's a really good one. And what else would I pack? I know, lip balm, definitely. My lips got so dry during labour because of the gas in it. It really dries out your mouth. So a sippy water cup with a straw would be another one. So that's 4, but they're kind of connected. Sippy water bottle with a straw, so it's easy to drink out of and you don't have to like sip it. You can just hold it and use the straw. And lip balm, definitely must-haves in any hospital bag. Are you a routine mum or a go with the flow mum, and what does bedtime look like? I think when you've got 4 kids, you have to be a routine mum to some degree. I'm not massively strict in that dinner time can vary from, you know, 4:30 to 5:30 to even 6 some nights, depending on what we've got on after school. So I have to be go with the flow in some senses, because there's always, you know, every day looks different with 4 kids. Sometimes there's something straight after school, sometimes it's they come home and then I've got to take them somewhere. Mornings can be chaotic with 4 kids and a toddler. So even though there is a loose routine, like I know what order things have to go in and they have to happen by a certain point or all hell breaks loose, I also have to go with the flow a bit too. That's a really crap answer, isn't it? But you know what I mean. I like to have as much of a routine as is possible with 4 kids. That's my answer. What type of labour did you have? What pain relief did you choose? Obviously 4 labours, but they were all quite similar. I was very lucky, very fortunate. I had quite what I would probably describe as pleasant labours compared to a lot of stories that I've heard and friends of mine, their experiences. I think mine have all been really positive. My first labour with Dylan was amazing for a first labour. I think I thought it was quite quick. He was actually born in a midwife-led unit in a birthing pool. It was exactly the way I wanted it. I just had gas and air. Yeah, it was lovely. It was a really positive experience. My second with Merrin was probably the longest. It felt really long. I was expecting it to be quicker than my first, and it wasn't. Everyone tells you second labour would be much quicker. It really wasn't. It went on much longer, this time at home, and she came out, there's a term for this, I can't remember what it is, but she came out with her hand up here against her face, like waving probably, knowing Merrin, which hurt, and my waters didn't go until right as she was being born, so that was quite painful as well. Still pretty positive and a nice experience, but not as smooth as the first. Aiden was at home again in the birthing pool. We'd bought one with Merrin, which I used for Merrin, Aiden and Marnie, and my friend had her daughter in it as well, which is nice. So we got our money's worth out of that. Aiden was stop and start is the best way to describe that. I kept feeling like I was getting somewhere, and then everything would slow down and I felt like we'd gone right back to square one again. It took a long time to progress to active labour, or whatever they call it. But again, just gas and air and in the water, and yeah, once we got going, it was a really quick and lovely experience. I can still really vividly picture him being born. Marnie, my last baby, was amazing. It was a fantastic experience, and I feel like it was a really nice way to end my journey of like being pregnant and labour and things. Marnie's was very quick. I think I'd been having niggles for at least 24 hours before, but I wasn't sure whether they were actually the start of labour or just general aches and pains and like Braxton Hicks and stuff. So I didn't really, because she was early and none of my others were early. I'm not ever early for anything. Anyone that knows me will confirm that. But she was a couple of days early, so I didn't expect that to be labour. So technically it wasn't quick, because I think I'd been leading up to it for about 24 hours before, but when it really got going, it got going quick. It just seemed to progress at a really good pace, and I'd done some hypnobirthing practice in my pregnancy, which I wish I'd done more of with the others, because it made a massive difference to my mindset and the way that I ended up delivering her. I think maybe that would be a nice video to do if anyone would be interested. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I definitely had a positive experience with it. And again, she was born in water with gas and air. Have you ever been mum shamed? I don't think I have, at least not that I've noticed. I think, like I said, with the people's comments when you're pregnant, I think people make silly comments about things, and I tend to try and, you know, water off a duck's back, not take things to heart. I am quite sensitive, and I am an overthinker, so I'm sure if someone had really mum shamed me, it would be stuck in my head. But no, nothing springs to mind, which is probably a good thing. The biggest challenges you've faced since becoming a mum: definitely learning to be more organised. I'm not naturally a massively organised person, and with a family of 6, you just have to be more organised, and it's definitely a challenge. It's something that is an ongoing learning curve for me, and I've done lots of videos on how I'm trying to be more organised, what I do to make my life run a bit more smoothly. I still have a long way to go, and I will continue to make videos about it as I progress and I get better at it. But yeah, that's definitely not a natural state for me, to be really organised and have my shit together on a daily basis. But I'm working on it. Best advice you've ever been given, and the biggest piece of advice you'd give to a new mum. This is a really basic one, I'm sure, but it genuinely is the best piece of advice that I've ever been given, and the one thing I would tell any new mum, and it's: this will pass. Don't worry, whatever stage you're going through currently, with your newborn, with your toddler, with your preschooler, with your teenager, whatever, it all passes, and it feels like the biggest, most difficult challenge at the time. But just know that in a couple of weeks, months, whatever, you will look back and think, oh yeah, remember when I was worried about that so much? I remember Googling when Dylan was a couple of months old, will my baby ever stop crying? Because we went through a phase where it was really difficult to settle him at night, like hours and hours of just screaming at us and us not knowing what to do. He was our first baby, we'd never done it before. And looking back, even a couple of months after that, when things settled down, it just, yeah, it passes. It's all part of the journey, as cheesy as that sounds, it is. And all these little phases, they do pass, and every baby is so different. So don't think, oh God, I can't have another one because I can't go through this again, because chances are you won't have to go through that same problem again, because the next baby will be so different. Merrin was so different. She used to try and get herself into her own cot to go to bed, whereas Dylan was a nightmare with sleep. So all babies are different, all phases pass, and try, as difficult as it can be sometimes, not to worry about it too much. Last question, who is your mum crush and who do you tag? And my battery is flashing on my camera, so I need to be really quick. My mum crush, I'm really into following people who have large families. I just think I get so much inspiration and comfort and ideas and tips and all kinds of things. So a few mums on Instagram and YouTube that I love that are fellow mums of 4 or more are Mama Izzo, Jodie, I love her, Lucy, Dear Beautiful, she's a relatively new mum of 4. I think her little boy is, I don't know how old he is now, my mind's gone blank, but she's a fairly new mum of 4. A lady called Ness on Instagram, Too Many Children is her handle. She has like 12 children and she's incredible. She blows my mind. This Gathered Nest on YouTube, she's lovely. She's American or Canadian, I think American, but her content is brilliant as well and I get so many great ideas from them. Who do I tag? I'm going to tag, let's think, I'm trying to think who I haven't seen do this yet. Mrs. Meldrum, she is my mum crush. She's a mum of 3. I'm sure you all know Mrs. Meldrum. I don't need to introduce her to you, but I'd love to see her answers to those questions. Charlotte Taylor, another mum crush of mine. She is the loveliest person and I would love to see her answers. She's also a mum of 3. Who else? And Lucy, Dear Beautiful. I've seen somewhere that Jodie, Mama Izzo, is already filming this, so I won't tag her, but Lucy from Dear Beautiful. I'd love to see her answers as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna have to go and charge my battery because it's going to die. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.